When I think I was 15, maybe just turned 16, that I was reading a newsletter, an investing newsletter, and I thought, wow, it would be so cool if I could do this one day. But then after that, I thought, well, you can't do something like that. It's very ambitious and so on. And then I quit my job, and I remember it really well. 1 week later, I quit my job, right? I'm now at my home, alone in my home office. And I was like, damn. Now it needs to be good. Now it needs to succeed. I have no income. I don't know anything about marketing. I don't know anything about business. The only thing is that I love investing and I love to write a newsletter. I read everything Warren Buffett has ever said and written, so it's 5,000 pages. And I'm 100% sure that it's way better than any degree you can get at university. Any MBA, any CFA study, any whatever experience in the field, just read what Warren Buffett has ever said, everything he has ever said and written, and that will be the best learning school you can probably get.
Dear viewers of Good Investing Talks, it's great to have you back, and it's great to welcome Pieter Slegers of Compounding Quality for the first time on this channel. Many of you know him already, like he has an impressive following, hundreds of thousands of people on X, a Substack with 350,000 subscribers, LinkedIn where he has a big following, and he might be one of the most followed investors in the long-term investing and value investing bubble, maybe outside of the two guys he has behind him. They've acquired a bigger followership. And today I want to learn with you how he built the brand Compounding Quality. So, hi Pieter, it's great to have you here.
Hi, it's an honor to be here, Tillman.
Thanks for joining us. Where are you joining us from?
I'm based in Belgium, basically near Antwerp. So 20 minutes drive from Antwerp, basically.
It might be a surprising fact for some, because with this brand, many think you will be based in New York or something like this. But we might get into this later. Let's go to talk about Compounding Quality. When did you start with it?
Yeah, sure. And before I will answer your question, Tillman, I will just take a few seconds to genuinely thank you, because I think what you do with a good investing community is amazing. You basically also, or thanks to you, I went to Omaha to the AGM previous year, 2023. And I think all the events you do there are great. So Tillman didn't ask me for this, but I would say, well, anyone who wants to go to the AGM, well, Tillman is your person. So I'm genuinely thankful for that. And also, as of now, well, I will go every year to the AGM, and that's mainly because of you. So thank you for that, and kudos to you for everything you do with good investing, I would say. For sure. So to answer your question, well, Compounding Quality, I started Compounding Quality in the summer of 2022. And it's actually a very funny story in the sense that, well, I think some people might have heard this, but I used to work in the industry. But I also basically love to share my thoughts about the stock market on social media, Twitter and Dutch. So I'm from Belgium. But then my employer came to me and he basically said to me, he didn't put it that way, but that was the message. Well, just tweet about your company, and for the rest, don't share your thoughts about the stock market. So that annoyed me, that bothered me a bit. Then on a Friday evening, well, I remember it really well. I live with my girlfriend in Geel, which is a small town in Belgium. And that Friday evening, I was staying at my parents' house. Why? I had a bachelor party of one of my best friends. And it was in the neighborhood of my parents' house. So I decided to stay the night there. And then on Saturday, do the bachelor party. So basically, that Friday evening, I was a bit bored and decided, let's just make a Twitter account. So I went to Twitter, or I should say X nowadays, right? But went to Twitter back then. Registered and then create an account. Well, name, had no clue. Thought for 30 seconds. Well, I'm a big fan of quality investing. So let's take compounding quality, compound interest, and then quality investing. Okay, next step on the Twitter registration process, an image. Damn, that was a problem for me because I couldn't take my real face because I wanted to do it anonymously, so I could say what I wanted to say without my employer getting bothered, basically. And this is maybe also something we can talk about. Well, I chose to, obviously Warren Buffett is your big idol, so I chose to use a cartoon image of Warren Buffett with a red background. And that's how basically the account was created. And maybe also to elaborate a bit on that, I think many people have said that, like Bill Gates and so on. I would also say regarding compounding quality, probably the success is 70 to 80% luck and 20% maybe because of what you actually do. And to make that more concrete, so I created the account Compounding Quality. I spent quite some time on it in the first 2 weeks, and basically it didn't get any traction. So maybe 20, 30 followers after 2 weeks, and I'm posting every day. And then I said something to myself like, well, I will give this one more week, and if it still doesn't work out, I'll just focus on my job or go do something else. And then basically one thing or one tweet changed everything. And that was that Gautam Bates, so the author of The Joys of Compounding, which many of you will probably know, he retweeted some tweet and I said, well, this is actually quite good, this account, give it a follow. And since then, the account exploded that day. And since then, well, it has been quite a linear process. And it has been so much fun. And I think indeed today the account has something like 430,000 followers on X. So it's a lot of fun to have been able to do this. And I'm very grateful for this as well.
Yeah, the thing with Warren Buffett is I think he has a lot of I often use this picture. He is a big crocodile and he has a lot of cleaning birds that jump above him, clean him, and they also profit from the synthesis with him. There are a lot of guys who got a career boost while hanging out with him, like Guys Beer, Monish Pabrai, and also a lot of other people who go to the AGM and build like expertise around it and build things around it.
And to be honest, the same is with me. So for example, some of people might know it. So the red Buffett logo I used, but I just created the account on a Friday evening, like I mentioned. But obviously it was just for fun. I had no clue that compounding quality would become so popular. And then obviously after a while you said, okay, maybe I should change this icon. I should change the Warren Buffett logo because maybe it just, I got an email from Charlie of Munger's firm, Munger, Tolson and Olson, saying some people think that Warren Buffett is involved in here. Please, can you change the picture? Which was on the one hand, obviously it's a big compliment, and obviously Warren Buffett is not involved. I'm 0.0001% as good as Buffett probably. On the other hand, well, it's scary. But I didn't want to change the image or the logo before. Why? After a while, the logo became so iconic in some way that I just wanted to keep it. But obviously changing it was the right thing to do. And as you mentioned, for a lot of people, Warren Buffett is a big example. And I think if everyone could be a bit more like Buffett, well, the world will be a healthier and wealthier place. So last year I also spent, I read everything Warren Buffett has ever said and written. So it's 5,000 pages. And I'm 100% sure that it's way better than any degree you can get at university, any MBA, any CFA study, any whatever experience in the field. Just read what Warren Buffett has ever said, everything he has ever said and written, and that will be the best learning school you can probably get.
Yeah, he's a global household name in some effect for investing, and investing is quite a faceless thing. So adding the face of Warren Buffett is like kind of the thing that gets people's attention and draws them in, and he has this trustworthy brand. It's a bit like maybe Apple from the brand positioning he has in the world of finance, which is super interesting to see.
Absolutely.
Going back to your brand, were there other like game-changing moments as outside of the retreat of Gautam Bate? Thank you for this, Gautam.
Yeah, exactly. So Also, indeed, and I met Gautam last year at the Berkshire AGM, or the day before. We had dinner together. He's an amazing person, really kind, really down to earth. So really grateful for him. Another big moment for me was when Bill Ackman engaged on some tweets of me, sharing the things about Buffett and so on. But I think in general, and that's what I always said, well, when I was a kid, I always wanted to become a teacher. And obviously also had a passion for investing, for the stock market. And I always say that, well, right now you're doing both. So on the one hand, you're following your passion for investing, following the market 24/7. On the other hand, I think social media is also a big way of teaching. And in hindsight, maybe where I was quote unquote lucky as well is the first year I ran Compounding Quality. I was still working full time. I was still doing everything anonymously, obviously. And just the fact that you kept on giving and trying to provide as much value as you possibly can without asking for anything in return. Well, I tweeted for 1 year. I had written something like 150 articles, just freely available, more general content about the stock market and so on. That helps a lot, I guess. It's like the flywheel effect of Amazon, or what Jeff Bezos has done with Amazon. Because you give, well, that's the essence also of social media, I guess. Try to provide as much value as you can. And on top of that, maybe what's another really important one, I guess, is just to be authentic, be yourself. When you, for example, for some people who want to do something in social media here, when you create a thread or a post via ChatGPT or any other AI tool, people can feel that, people can sense that. And everyone is unique. And just by being yourself, by doing what you generally think is the right thing to do, people can feel that, and that makes a huge difference as well. The authenticity and having that is really, really important there.
What is impressive about you is the persistence and the stamina you put into putting out content, working through things. But it seems a bit you found your calling in this job. So you're a passionate investor, but you're marrying it with this teacher you always wanted to be from your childhood. Could this describe it a bit?
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I'm the luckiest person in the world, in the sense that, well, one, I have had the opportunity to follow my passion and make a living from that. And my two big passions are indeed, on the one hand, teaching, on the other hand, the stock market. And I've also always said, when I would do something completely different, so when one day I wouldn't do anything in the stock market or investment related, it would definitely be teaching. So combining those two things is probably the most fun part. And you also see that with other people, like Brian Feroldi, for example, who is also amazing. I think he also has some kind of teaching background, and you see that with plenty of people. So I also think, by the way, maybe to elaborate a bit on that for social media, but also for the newsletter and so on, I think the key goal should be to explain complex problems as easy as you can. And when you can, for example, when you can explain the reverse DCF or the importance of return on invested capital, just saying something in a way that a 12-year-old can understand it. Well, I think that's the big difficulty of the content creation game, to put it that way. But it's also when you succeed in that, well, it's amazing. So probably the best writer in finance and investing is Morgan Housel, right? I think when you would give his articles, give his books to your 14-year-old niece, and she doesn't know anything about investing or the stock market or finance, she will be able to understand what Morgan Housel is saying, and that's beautiful. So yeah, also Morgan Housel is probably someone I really, really look up to. So
these are also your role models somehow.
Absolutely.
But you kind of become peers with them after 2 years.
I wouldn't put it that way, but it's amazing to learn from other people. And it's also the big advantage of the world we live in today, right? The big advantage of the 21st century, there are plenty of books, there are plenty of things available online, even or often for free, that you can learn from the best in the field for free. So, for example, I've done that. I've printed out everything Morgan Housel has written as well. So just all his articles and so on, all his blog posts. That's so valuable, and you can learn so much. So, as Munger said, I think you should be a lifelong learner, and I've set the ambitious goal to read 52 books a year for the next 52 years. I think that's a lovely goal to aim for. I think right now, this morning, I started reading my 80th book of the year. So it's November 2024 for those who are listening a bit later. And I think just doing that and learning from the best investors in the world, learning from the best businessmen in the world, learning from the best writers in the world, that's so valuable.
Hey, Tilman here. It's great that you've made it that far into the video, and I think it shows a certain passion for investing you're having. If you want to dive deeper and go further down the rabbit hole, you're invited to apply to my community, Good Investing Plus. It's a place that's very helpful to people who are ambitious about investing. It's helpful to investment talent as well as experienced fund managers. So if you're interested, please click on the link below. And now, without further ado, enjoy the conversation. So how does a day in the week look like for you? Is it more like I would think of like you're a monk waking up in the morning, drinking tea and then reading, and then 2 hours intense social media and then reading again?
If you replace tea with coffee, you're pretty accurate, to be honest. I try to keep my day very structured in general. Just because you have 2 books I really love, Deep Work and also Eat That Frog, just about productivity. And the key message basically is, 2 hours of undistracted work will deliver you more in output than what most people achieve in a traditional 8-hour workday. So, and I truly try to live by that statement. How does my day look every day? Well, I try to do it, to live every day exactly the same. Obviously in practice, that doesn't work every day. But usually I wake up 5 minutes before 5 a.m. Go to the toilet, brush my teeth, grab a coffee. And at 5 a.m. at my desk, usually reading a book. So every day between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. I read a book. Hence the 80 books read so far this year. 8 till 9 a.m.
Do you read them in hard copy or do you have an ebook reader?
I read them in a physical book, so hard copy. Reason for that is I'm already 12 hours a day behind my laptop. So this is one of the only times of the day that I can spend without my laptop. And I also love to build a huge personal library over time. I think that's also some of my goals. That would be really cool in general. So I spent quite some money on books. That's true, but it's an investment in yourself, and we both know that that's always the best investment, right? So 5 a.m., 7 a.m. is always reading. 7 a.m. until 8:30, I read a 10K or an annual report every day. 8:30 till 9 is usually, I have some breakfast and so on. I catch up with my girlfriend right now. 9 a.m. until 12 is usually just indeed analyzing stocks. So analyzing when a company within the portfolio publishes results, just finding new companies, writing an investment case about a company and so on. So then it's noon. Noon until 1 p.m. I try to go for a run. I should confess that this year has been, I didn't run as much as I used to run, just because also what's happening with compounding quality and everything around it. But I try to do that also during the run. Listen to a podcast. I think you have a lot of excellent podcasts. Once again, about business, about investing, about writing, and so on. After lunch, also still the same basically. 1 to 2 p.m. Writing for the newsletter and analyzing stocks, and then 2 till 4 it's more like social media, answering emails and so on. And this is also quite an exception, Tillman, because the internal rule I have for myself is that usually, once again, doesn't work all the time, but usually I don't do meetings before 4 p.m. What's the reason for that? Also because I've been working from 5 a.m. till 4 p.m. Well, that's almost a full day. My brain is a bit foggy already, cooked already. And that's when I try to do some more light work, like some meetings, like other things around the business. And that's how it usually works for me. Obviously, we are both based in Europe. When we want to do meetings in the US, obviously that's most of the time late afternoon for us or in the evening. So this structure works really well for me. In the end, I try to structure my day as much as possible, just about keeping productivity high, learning as much as I possibly can. And it also depends on whether you are a morning person or a night person or evening person. For me, it's definitely, I'm a morning person. For some people, that also sounds weird. So you're morning person, you are the most productive in the first hours of the day, right? You spend the first hours of the day on reading and not on writing investment cases or analyzing stocks. You could say something about that, but I feel like I'm about to turn 28 right now. We need to be lifelong learners, and I think I have the moral. The only thing, I'm obliged towards my readers, subscribers, to keep learning new things, keep improving as a person, as an investor, and so on. And that's why I just do it first thing in the morning, then it's done. I can't skip on the reading just because something else came up along the day. To me, the structure works really well in general.
One recommendation, I would maybe try to do the run without the podcast and just focus on running and being in nature. I'm experimenting with this as well because I have my midday walks. I'm an old guy, and doing that without any input is regenerating, and then you're more productive afterwards. Give it a try and let me see what you think.
I tried it many times, but probably the problem, quote unquote, I have is that I'm obsessed with productivity and learning. So to give you an example, yesterday I ran a half a marathon. It was a local event here in some local city I lived in. And after 1 km, my headphones broke down. And I was even during the event, which was an official race, I was listening a podcast about investing. And it frustrated me so much that I needed to run for another 20 km without listening to anything. But I think it can work as well. And it's exactly true. When are the best ideas arriving to you? It's always when you are going for a walk, when you go for a run, during the shower and so on. So obviously that's also very important in general. You need to love what you do, and you need to have a healthy mind plus healthy body. Obviously that's a cliche, but it works that way because when you're struggling with something yourself, I think it would harm the quality of the ideas you have a lot.
It is. It's helpful to keep yourself up and love yourself a lot when you want to give to others. Because otherwise you can't do it consistently and persistently, which is also important. Maybe let's go back to the history part. So you had already mentioned you were 1 year in giving, and building this snowball or this flywheel, if you want to call it like that. When did you become clearer that this could be a business? And how did you start out to experiment with revenue sources?
So basically, initially it just started for fun. What is actually really funny is that, and I recall that moment when I think I was 15, maybe just turned 16, that I was reading a newsletter, an investing newsletter, and I thought, wow, it would be so cool if I could do this one day. But then after that, I thought, well, you can't do something like that. It's very ambitious and so on. And hence here we are. So that's beautiful. Well, regarding So the account started in June 2023. I quit my job during the summer of the account started in June 2022, and I quit my job during the summer of 2023. What happened for me, or what was the case for me, contractually from my employer back then, I wasn't allowed to earn anything outside of my job in the finance industry. So basically, never try to monetize anything before I quit. So I didn't do paid subscriptions, I didn't do advertisements, just earnings were 0.0. It was even a loss because you invest some things in the business, like buying a domain name for your website and so on. Why or what gave you the courage to quit your job back then? Well, obviously you can look up some things and network with other people. And I knew that when I quit my job, I would basically make double the money I made from my regular job just with putting advertisements on the newsletter. So I probably was also quite conservative in that and waited quite long before actually taking the jump. But that's also maybe something, I think when you have a newsletter, you can monetize mainly in two ways. One is indeed the advertisements. Two is to have a paid subscription in place. I think to me, it made not a lot of sense to use advertisements. Why? Because those people that are on your website, they came to your website because of you, because they liked you or they liked your content, they liked what you had to say and so on. And then when you do an advertisement, well, you're basically pushing the people that came for you away to other channels again. While when you have a paid subscription, well, they came to you and you keep them with you, but they get something extra and they pay for that. So I did choose to take that route, and I enabled a paid subscription for compounding quality. So before I quit my job, all content on the website and social media was 100% general and educational. And with that, I mean just general thoughts about the stock market, how to think about growth. How did Buffett build his empire? What are famous investors buying and selling right now? And what changed when I quit my job is I started to implement a portfolio of compounding quality, an ETF portfolio. There was a community, investment cases. So when I buy a stock, I write a 40 to 50 page deep dive about it. So that it got more into the stock picking work, basically. So that's what happened there. I think for people who don't have the limitations for their job, that they could monetize their newsletter earlier when they are doing that. I think most people recommend to turn on a paywall or whatever, do advertisements just to see whether this is something feasible or not, because we also need to be honest with each other. I'm using Substack right now, but I think when you look at the leaderboards, there are a lot of people who are writing investment-related content on Substack, but I think there are very, very few people who are able to make a living from that. I should be grateful for that. I think authenticity is really important on the one hand. Second point, probably indeed the simplicity, to try and explain complex topics in a really easy way. I think those are probably the most important things. And maybe on top of that, like you already briefly touched upon, the consistency, that people know what to expect from you. Every Tuesday and every Thursday you get an article from me or another frequency. But when you would, for example, say, I'm going to do a newsletter, and sometimes I have a lot of time, and then that month I publish 6 articles, and then December is really busy for me and I don't publish anything. And then January is okay, and I publish 3 articles, and the month after, whatever, 10 articles, something like that. I don't think it would work really well. So just the consistency is indeed also a very important pillar.
Yeah, it's super helpful to be consistent with this, but it's also super hard to keep this up depending on the content formats you produce. So you have to find something that's repeatable and in this sense scalable as a content format.
Exactly. And that's also something, it's a flywheel that never stops, meaning when you go on a business trip for a week, when you want to take a a holiday for a week. That's good, but in the end, I made a commitment to publish every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. The articles need to be there and they need to be good, so it never stops. And nobody cares whether you went on a week business trip and were stuck in the airport for 24 hours and can't make it or something like that. The content and the investment cases need to be there. So it's a flywheel that never stops. And I think that's probably the biggest challenge of what I'm doing right now. I know quite some people, and I won't name names, who have had a really difficult time personally in terms of just the constant pressure, fighting burnout and so on, because it's a flywheel that never stops. So that's an important thing to take into account, for example. So one, maybe to elaborate on that as well, I love the newsletter, don't get me wrong. I love all the people involved in there. I love to do this. But basically, when people ask me this question, do you want to write a newsletter today? Absolutely. Do you want to write a newsletter next year? Yes. 3 years? Yes. 5 years? Yes. 10 years? I don't know. 20 years? Probably not. And with that, I mean, when you could choose between writing a newsletter and doing an investment fund, for example, I guess when you've done this for multiple years, for a few decades, maybe even, then the fund business is quote unquote, and I'm sure that some people or a lot of people won't agree with me, is more of a chill business, and maybe that I'm mispronouncing myself here, but just because it's not a flywheel that keeps on running. And when you have an investment fund, like your investment portfolio, you have built your positions and you go to the US for 1 week next week just to talk with the management of some companies you own, or to network and so on, or to go to the Berkshire AGM. You are learning and you're working for your business. And the same is true in the newsletter business. But in the newsletter business, your content needs to be there as well. While in the fund management business, it's just about, like Buffett said, if you have 1 or 2 great ideas a year, you're doing really well, right? While in the newsletter business, you need to write 3 articles a week, meaning 150 or a bit more a year. And the content needs to keep running, and it's a continuous flywheel.
You have this entertainment component, I call it like that you have to entertain people and entertain them consistently. And this is really hard for me. That's why I also gravitated away a bit from content, focusing on other spaces, because it's like, it's something where you have to put in energy again and again and again. And it has to be your calling to a certain extent.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you don't love this, you won't pursue, basically. And that's the case in everything in life, right? If you love what you're doing, you never have to work a day in your life. I think that's really important, and also just the fact that you are giving back, the fact that you are helping other people, the fact that you are making them hopefully a better investor. To me, that's a beautiful thing. And in life, it's all about finding purpose. And for some people, that's an investment newsletter. For other people, that's something completely different. But finding that for yourself, I think when you can find something like that for yourself, you're really lucky, and just go for your dreams and try to provide as much value as you can.
And you also made it clever to a certain aspect. There is a certain duty and a certain pressure you have, but you integrated it in the way that it became your life over the last 2 years.
And that's maybe also something funny or something I can share. With Compounding Quality, when it started, I was just having fun. I was just tweeting on Twitter, nowadays also on LinkedIn. I was writing the newsletter. I was just having fun, no stress. I loved what I was doing. And then I quit my job, and I remember it really well. 1 week later, I quit my job, right? I'm now at my home, alone in my home office. And I was like, damn, Now it needs to be good. Now it needs to succeed. I have no income. I don't know anything about marketing. I don't know anything about business. The only thing is that I love investing and I love to write a newsletter. And to me, that also gave some stressful moment. Like you need to, promise or keep your promises and continue to do well. Well, luckily I got over that after a few weeks, but that's also something that's probably sounds really, some people can relate to what I'm saying right now. But the fact that you just love what you're doing, it's fun. And also for me, it's also basically funny right now. I'm writing, right? I'm writing the newsletter. When I was a child, when I was 10, 11, 12 years old, I was always the worst writer of the entire class. When you need to write a short story or a summary about something, I always got whatever, a 5 out of 10. So just be above the threshold, which is really bad when you're in secondary school. Normally you get whatever, 7 or 8 out of 10, and I got a 5. So that's funny. You can keep exploring, and just when you are actually having fun, people can just sense it. People can feel it in your writing. And be your own unique self. I think that will only become more important with all the AI tools we have nowadays.
Yeah, it really helps also to connect and grow your inner child in a certain way, that you're aligned with these tasks you have. Maybe let's try to go back to summer 2022 and think of yourself in this time. Where did you get better since then? Which are the areas you saw yourself improving and growing?
It sounds cocky, and it isn't that meant that way, but I think I improved in everything, in the investment side and in the writing side and so on. And like I mentioned, that's also, for example, this is a honest confession I'm going to make here as well. So June 2022, I create the account, and then in the summer of 2023, 1 year later, I quit my job. During the first year when I was still working, I was just having fun. Reading a lot, learning a lot, all investment related. Reading everything of Buffett, reading everything of Munger, reading everything of Francois Darchon, and so on and so on. Then 2023, I quit my job. And then I had a stressful moment, like I don't know anything about business, I don't know anything about marketing, right? So that's also when I try to learn a lot about all the other aspects, about business, about marketing, and so on. And for example, in Belgium, so I live in Belgium and we speak Dutch. It's the same language as what they speak in the Netherlands. I have a friend here who doesn't live too far away, who writes in Dutch, which is about investing, which is a really small market, and is doing over 1 million in ARR, in annual recurring revenue, every single year, which is really exceptional because it's in Dutch. The market is really small. Well, what's the reason for that, if you ask me? In the newsletter space, there are a lot of people, or in general, let's put it even more broadly. In general, there are a lot of people who are great investors, obviously. Then you have another pool of people who are great entrepreneurs, great business people. And then you have a third pool of people who are great writers, great marketeers, and so on and so on. But basically, what is very rare is that you are at least a reasonable investor, a reasonable entrepreneur, and a reasonable writer / marketeer. And combining those three, when you can do a bit of the three, a bit of all, I think that's very important in what we are doing right here. So also over the past few years, I've read a lot of business books. I've read a lot of books about storytelling. I've read a lot of books about marketing, about writing, and so on. So for example, you have a book on writing from Stephen King. I think that's phenomenal. He's one of the best fiction writers in the world, right? Just having the privilege to learn from something like that for, I don't know what the book costs, 15, 20 or 30 USD/euro. That's just amazing. It's the same like what Charlie Munger once said. Well, there are answers worth billions of dollars in a $30 history book. I think that's truly amazing. And when you achieve reading 52 books a year for the next 50, sorry, apologies, I will rephrase it. When you achieve in reading 52 books over the next 52 years, you've read over 2,500 books. I think you can't help but become very knowledgeable, hopefully become very good in what you're doing. And when you combine that with the fact that you love what you are doing, I think that's very powerful.
Did you, when you went in 2023, also experience this all-in effect? So once you're not in between positions, like having one job and making this as a side hustle, things change and you get more focused and more things open up as you step this pathway more and more?
Yeah, I think two things. Before I quit my job, I felt like sometimes I was leading a double life or something like that. So for example, we met in Oma, right, in 2023. And then I did a lot of meetings and so on, the compounding quality. But also, for example, and that's a funny story. So I had a reservation with Gautam Bait to go have dinner at the restaurant the day before the Berkshire AGM. But that morning, my former employer also mentioned to me, well, the Prime Minister of Belgium is also in Omaha to attend the Berkshire AGM. So you should meet him here, give him a text and grab a coffee and so on. So, okay, that morning I texted him, look, I'm also in Omaha, let's have a coffee on Sunday after the Markel meeting to the Prime Minister of Belgium. Okay, he agreed, we agreed to have coffee and so on. And then that Friday evening, I was waiting outside the restaurant to meet Gautam Bait. And I said to him, because I was still anonymous, I said to him, well, I will wait outside. I'm wearing a blue suit, blah, blah, blah. Because, yeah, otherwise he won't recognize me, right? He didn't know how I looked like. So I was waiting for Gautam outside of the restaurant. Yeah, Wu arrived at the driveway, the Prime Minister of Belgium. And I was, oh God. So I was waiting there outside. He did some small talk and I was like, no, please, can you go inside as fast as possible? Because I have an appointment with Gautam and he will be here in a few minutes. And I can't say to you that I'm Pieter, which is my real name, and to Gautam that I'm compounding quality. So before I quit my job, sometimes I had a huge feeling that I was leading a double life. And then I quit my job, right? Summer of 2023. And I had a feeling like I've been running the newsletter or writing the newsletter while working full time. And I worked something like 60 hours a week for my regular job. So I thought, well, when I quit my job, I will have so much time. I can analyze so many companies. I can read so many 10Ks. There are extra 60 hours a week that are available right now. And in the end, that ended up being very naive because so many things are happening at the same time and things you need to take care of and doing meetings and everything that is related to running a solo business, basically from back office to answering emails to accounting to you name it. So that's something to take into account probably as well. But in general, it has been a lot of fun. And to me, like we already discussed, just structuring your day every day helps me to increase my output tremendously, or at least I have the feeling that that's the case.
Yeah, this energy of a double life. I also had this working in politics part-time and then building investing, which is also two different worlds. But I could say who I am in both worlds, but not fully.
I'm happy that phase is over for me as well. Sometimes it was quite stressful to live that way.
But when you started out, you said you were in parts a bit naked, not having marketing or business skills.
Yeah, exactly.
Which kind of clothes did you then get over time? like ideas, concepts from others? What helped you to build the skills, and what was like maybe a few strongly impressive concepts that resonated with you?
I think two things are very important. On the one hand, just the books and reading. That's really important. And also, well, money's per buy. I'm a shameless copycat. Just, especially when you start out, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You can look at what other people are doing. People who are 10 or 20 years ahead of you are doing, and try to replicate it a bit. So just look at what for example, someone was very successful. It can be in investing, but maybe FP&A or productivity, doesn't matter that much. Just look at what someone who was very successful is doing and try to replicate it for your own niche. For us, that's the investment field. I think that's really, really powerful. What's also, it's like when you start investing. When you start a business, you will make mistakes, no doubt about that. But it's just listening to other people, what they have been doing, and trying to replicate it in a successful way is really important. And also, to be honest, what helped me really hard over the past few years is I have a lot of great mentors in my life, and try to find someone like that who has been doing this for multiple years. Like the Belgian guy I talked about was doing 1 million in ARR for 20 years straight. Well, when you have the ability to send him a message and say, look, Martin is his name. Well, Martin, I'm thinking about doing this and that in my business. What do you think? And to get his opinion and his insight is really powerful. And also, by the way, you met him last year, I guess, I think, Chris. So from Go to Value was also an author on Seeking Alpha. We talk every single day. Same for him. He started in, not sure, 2018 or 2019, I guess. He has gone through the bulls and busts of the business. So having his opinion as well, that's really valuable. So I would really recommend everyone to try and find a great mentor and do that. And you would be surprised about how many people say yes. Also, one thing I'm, for example, looking to do over the next few weeks is, I live in a small city in Belgium, like you already know by now, to just invite every quarter the best entrepreneurs in the neighborhood for a dinner. I will pay for everything. And we just discuss ideas, and I can discuss some ideas I have for my business. And then you can say, for example, one person I will invite is they basically built some kind of mini Berkshire private equity company with 1 billion in AUM. It's a 10-minute drive, even by bicycle from here. And then you can ask the question, why would a person like that chat with someone like me? Why would he attend a restaurant meeting when you invite him? Well, honest answer, he won't come to that restaurant meeting from me. But when you invite 3 or 4 other people who are really, really, really successful here in the neighborhood, we have, for example, also built a business of whatever, 500 million or 700 million in a completely different niche. He will come, and when you tell another person that other billionaire will come, well, he will also come. And that's basically how you build some kind of internal audit committee, which can be really, really powerful. You pay for the restaurant, everyone is happy, everyone has a fun time. The other people, well, they look up to the other attendees, and I think that's something really smart to do. And that taking that restaurant bill is probably one of the best investments you can make for your general career, your thoughts, and so on.
I guess you're underselling yourself a bit with this reach, but that's just my take here.
I feel, and I think that's really important, to just be really, really down to earth. And I think I have a lot of empathy for everyone. But one thing I really, really don't like in people, and people I don't want to engage with, is people who are very arrogant. I think you should be, in investing, but also just in general, be down to earth, be yourself, have respect for everyone, that's really important. So for example, when I see someone, I can give an example. So a month ago, I was at, we were doing, for the newspaper, we were doing some interviews and so on at the head office of the newspaper here in Belgium. And there is some guy, and once again, I won't name names, was really successful, really well known. But obviously, when he's on TV, when he writes a column and so on, he's really friendly, really empathic and so on. But then you see how he treated the people who couldn't do anything for him at the office of the newspaper back there, and how he treated the people who needed to take care of his IT issues or bring him some drinks and so on in a very unrespectful way. And then you just, for me personally, you lose all my respect. To be very arrogant against people who can't mean anything for you directly, I think that tells a lot about your personality, and that's the last thing I would want to become myself. And also for me, the followers on the social media, the readers on the email newsletters, they are just numbers on a screen. And I don't try to think that much about it. And I think it's a great idea to write every piece you write just with one person in your mind, whether it's your 14-year-old niece, whether it's Warren Buffett, and think and act that way. I think that's the way you should go with it.
Maybe let's also try to look back, and we already touched a bit on this, that you seem to be also an experimental guy, but we haven't worked this out really that much. We had this one conversation where you're talking that you're trying to throw spaghettis at the wall and looks what sticks. With this, you're trying out a lot of things, but maybe let's also talk about the things that did not work since you started out. So what are things you tried that were not successful, to say it like this in exclamation marks?
It's a good question. It's a difficult question. To start with, you have some kind of book series from Strategizer, which is how to test business ideas and so on. They are excellent. And I also think that's one of the beautiful things about social media and newsletter and so on. You can indeed throw spaghetti against the wall really quickly, see what works and see what doesn't work. So you can test things really quickly. That's also what makes me a bit hesitant about launching an equity fund. With a newsletter, you can test something, it doesn't work. Okay, it took 1 hour of time and I lost 100 USD/euro. But anyway, when you launch an equity fund and it doesn't work, well, you've probably lost a few $100,000 and you can't go back immediately. So that's what I like about the newsletter. To answer your question, what didn't succeed? It's a difficult question. I don't think I have a straight answer. I think it's just really important to be unique and be yourself. For me, Compounding Quality has always been around educational content. When I would publish right now a meme about the stock market or something about crypto or something about value investing or something else, that just doesn't work. So that's something I noticed. Another thing I noticed, and I launched 2 new newsletters. One, just a Dutch version of Compounding Quality because of the traditional media exposure you have here, a weekly column and so on, and the largest newspaper. And another one on dividends where TJ, Josh is doing excellent work. It didn't work out as well as I would have expected. So that's a big lesson for me as well. That not everything succeeds and sometimes you will fail. And I think that's for everyone in the business. Well, most of the best entrepreneurs, when they've launched 10 businesses or 10 business ideas, usually only 2 of them succeeds. And same for the book, by the way. So I worked together with Luc Cruz, a great friend, on the art of quality investing. He did 99% of the work, meaning the book was already there in Dutch. We hired someone to translate it into English and update the book a bit here and there. 2 things. One, I was surprised how much work it was, even when Luc and a translator did 99% of the work. So I can't imagine how much work writing a book from scratch is. By the way, I think Simon Colt also just published a great book about quality investing. So a lot of work. Second point, I was a bit disappointed with the book sales so far. So that's also has been a disappointment. But once again, because when, for example, I would have written the book from scratch myself and spent weeks or even months on writing that and it wouldn't be a success, I would be really disappointed. Now the damage is a bit smaller because we work together on it. So that's a bit about, I think in the end, it's all about testing ideas, test quickly, fail quickly, and if it works, well, bet heavily. I think that's a great way to go about those ideas. And the books from Strategizer, well, they helped me tremendously with that. So in the end, it's all about keep learning, keep improving, and learn from books and learn from other people. That's probably the most valuable lesson I've learned over the past few months.
Like, you had this kind of coming out moment when you turned from the Buffett logo to Pieter. How was it, like, from the perception that you're a guy from Belgium, not an American idol? What did it change? How did people react to this? You're also quite young. Some people could have thought you're already in your 40s or something like this.
Honest answer, I was, before exposing myself or before getting out of the anonymity, I was a bit afraid in the sense that, like what you mentioned, I was running Compounding Quality anonymously. And then on Twitter, I saw some people, I think it's Terry Smith or someone from Terry Smith's team. And then, no, this guy is working on Wall Street and he blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I'm just a regular guy, 28 years old from Belgium. But if you want to think that, please. And there was some kind of mystery against Compounding Quality. And after a while, it also resulted in the fact that I was feeling very comfortable in being anonymous. And with all the mystery going on. And then I exposed myself and said I was doing the account right. Why? Because I felt like you are talking about money, you're talking about finances, investing, and so on. So I thought people had the right to know who I am, because trust, integrity, honesty is something really important in the industry, something that people are missing a lot in the industry. So to give you an example, I was the right hand of a senior fund manager of managing an equity fund. Well, in that fund, there was around 200 million in assets under management. I didn't invest a single dollar in the fund myself, and I also didn't want to. And that gave a feeling like, what are you doing? Well, what kind of life are you living if you do it that way? And I think a lot of that is going on in the industry. So there are people managing billions of dollars who don't invest a single dollar in the fund themselves. That's just completely wrong. Well, show me the incentive and I'll show the outcome, right? So I think that's important. And now I'm talking and I forgot the question. So if you can repeat it, I can get back to the essence.
How was your coming out changing things?
So I was afraid about that. Then I exposed myself, but probably also a difference, not sure if it's the same in Germany, but the difference between the Belgian mentality and the US mentality, for example. When I said that I was running the account, everyone was very positive about it. So it's great to know where you are right now, or you are an entrepreneur right now, kudos to you, we are supporting you. So that's something that was really lovely. It also, in hindsight, it helped me a lot, like the traditional media exposure in Belgium right now, for example, columns, maybe sometimes even TV and stuff like that, that helps. So it has been very positive, while in the beginning, indeed, I was afraid, people being, it's a 20-year-old from Belgium, it's not some big guy on Wall Street. But in the end, I didn't experience it that way. The reactions were very positive in general.
That's great to hear. Maybe for the end of the interview, let's take a look at what you have currently. So there's a newsletter, there's a community, there's the book. What else is there?
So basically, we have Compounding Quality. Compounding Quality is mainly built on 2 social media channels, so Twitter and LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I post under my real name, Pieter Slegers. There it has 210,000 followers. Twitter has something like 430,000 followers. Then we go one step lower and you have the newsletter business. So there we have Compounding Quality, which is the main channel with almost 350,000 readers. We have the Dutch version, the Kwaliteitsbelegger, which will be difficult to pronounce for most people, with 10,000 readers, and a dividend newsletter run by Josh with 110,000 readers. And then you have indeed the book, The Art of Quality Investing. You can elaborate on that. Well, The Art of Quality Investing has sold 8,000 books so far. I know that books like Quality Investing from Lawrence Cunningham and Investing for Growth from Terry Smith have sold approximately 30,000 copies. So that was our ambitious internal goal, but it doesn't look like we will make that. Okay, the Art of Quality Investing has only been out from April this year, April 2024, but we'll see. And right now, I'm also still seriously thinking / looking into launching an equity fund. And also there, I think it's integrity, honesty, transparency, really important. So when we will pursue, it will be a 0625 fund, like the Buffett partnership structure, which will result in making less money for yourself, obviously, but it's the right thing to do. And on top of that, probably 25% of the commissions that will be made from our side, from the business side, will be given to charity. So that will be the goal. But it's still in the exploring phase, so not making any promises here, but that's something that might be the next phase for Compounding Quality. But obviously, running a newsletter and running an equity fund is a completely different thing. So still a lot of things to explore, to study, and to be continued, I would say.
And the community?
The community is included in Compounding Quality. So partners of Compounding Quality, they are included in the community. So the community runs on Circle, just like Good Investing does right now. And there people can pitch stock IDs whenever something is going on in any company in our portfolio. Well, it will be published there. People can ask questions. So basically, I think for Compounding Quality, the goal is very simple. Look, obviously it's a paid subscription, so you pay some money. It's $3.99 USD for the regular subscription. That's for a year. And I analyze the stock market with all my heart and passion the entire week. And I provide you with as much value as you possibly can. So everything is included there. My personal portfolio, the community, investment cases, ETF portfolio, and so on. So just providing value. And I think when you think about business, when you think about your business or launching your business, the big question, like Simon Sinek said, will start with why. And the big question is, which customer problem am I solving? And when you aren't solving a customer problem, when you aren't making the life of your customer, to put it that way, I always call people who read Compounding Quality partners. But when you don't improve the life of your partners, well, then something is wrong. So you should be beneficial to their life, basically, I guess.
What kind of persona do you think of when you write for your customer?
It's a difficult one because the partners of Compounding Quality are very broad, from a retail investor to hedge fund managers to someone who is investing $1,000 to someone who is investing 15 million USD. So it's very, very broad. I think what people have you in mind, one question I ask when writing every article is one, would Warren Buffett approve with me sending out something like that or some kind of investment case? I think that's a good threshold to live by. And then second point, like I mentioned, I also want to write my article in such a way that my 14-year-old niece can understand it while being accurate and not being too short-sighted. I think those are the two metrics I try to live by or write by, and they try to help me alongside the journey, I guess.
So there's an easy quality filter on the content, that it's easy to consume, but that it's high quality.
Yeah, that's the goal at least. Partners can decide whether I succeed, but that's the goal.
Maybe as one of the last questions, thinking about these different elements, where do you imagine yourself to be in 5 years with this?
It's a difficult question. Short answer, bigger, stronger, better. I think that's the main goal. Compounding Quality has been around for 2 years right now. And I think it would be completely naive to state that things in 5 years from now will be the same as they are right now. So I don't think I have an answer for that. I think it's important to keep learning, keep being flexible. Because, for example, over this year, I got quite some acquisition bids for Compounding Quality. Two things. One, I think I have the moral duty towards partners to not do something like that. I will never sell my soul for money, to put it that way. And two, when I look at those acquirers or potential acquirers, I think the key advantage you have, the key advantage Compounding Quality has right now, is that we are small and flexible. Like the spaghetti, throw the spaghetti against the wall thing. It happens so much that in the morning I read something in a book, and I'm just like, okay, let's test it 1 hour later, throw a spaghetti against the wall, see whether it sticks or not. If it doesn't stick, we go on. If it does stick, well, you can invest heavily in that. And that's not something that a big company with a market cap of 1 billion and a few hundreds of employees can do. So that's something I like as well. I think in 5 years from now, yeah, hopefully, I think the newsletter will still be there, and hopefully bigger, stronger, better. And then let's see how the idea for an equity fund will play out. One important thing there is I should provide partners with as much value as I can. And launching an equity fund shouldn't harm that goal. So that's the most important threshold for me right now. And when I feel like I can meet up to that expectation, I'm ready to launch an equity fund, I guess.
For the end of the interview, I always give the guest the chance to add anything or raise a question we haven't discussed. So is there anything that comes to your mind?
I will end as I started by genuinely thank you. And I think you are doing an amazing job for the entire community and providing so much value. So I think you are one of the kindest people I know, and I think way more people should know you in the industry. And I'm sure that when you keep doing what you are doing, it will happen one day. And I'm happy to help with that as well. And for the rest, for people reading, well, just follow your passion, be yourself, keep learning, keep reading. That's the most important thing. And whenever anyone made it this far and still has a question for me, feel free to reach out via social media, via email, and I'm happy to try and help you wherever I can.
Thank you very much. I can just give that back. You're also super kind and helpful, and I really like your story and that you found your calling somehow. That's an interesting marriage of like a lot of traits that are combined in you that shine through here. Passion for investing, teaching, and also like learning, which is the basis for teaching again, which is another flywheel.
Absolutely. I had a lovely time. I hope people learn something new. And as mentioned, always available. And let's keep in touch and let's keep learning.
Thank you. And bye-bye to the audience now. Bye. I really hoped you enjoyed this conversation. If you did, please leave a like and a comment, and for sure subscribe to my channel. Traditionally, I want to close this conversation with the disclaimer. So here you can find the disclaimer. It says, please do your own work. This is no recommendation. What we are doing here is just a qualified talk that helps you, but it's no recommendation. Please always do your own work. Thank you and hope to see you in the next episode. Bye bye.